Sometime after the arrival of Oak and his friends, we shift to the headquarters of the Heavenly Sovereignty cult, specifically one of its wings. The leader of this wing is seated on his chair while a subordinate stands before him, delivering the latest news. The leader inquires if it's true that the great leader Jang has brought 3 children to the cult. The subordinate confirms this and, upon further questioning, reveals that one of the children appears well-educated, having written his name elegantly in the cult's life record book, a surprising feat given his young age. Intrigued, the wing leader asks if they should consider these children for their White Lotus army. He then inquires about their current location and is informed that they are waiting at the life record office. After some contemplation, the wing leader concludes that if this child is truly gifted, they cannot leave him to the great leader Jang. He suggests to his subordinate that the child might even become the successor of Zhong Mu. Meanwhile, in a room within the cult's headquarters, Oak is asleep. Upon waking, he takes a moment to grasp his surroundings. Seeing Bong, he recalls being transported unconscious alongside Junak and Xiong in a strange carriage. When he awoke inside the carriage, the great leader himself spoke to him, introducing Bong as the one who would take care of him from now on. Oak was stunned, especially by the idea of someone being assigned to care for him, as he had always been self-reliant throughout his life of hardship. The great leader assured him not to fear Bong, explaining that he doesn't speak and thus cannot harm him. He then told Oak to rest, as they still had a long journey ahead. Remembering all this, Oak confirms he isn't dreaming and is indeed in a new place. He looks at Bong, puzzled by his perpetually strange facial expressions. Bong gestures for him to get out of bed and come closer. As Oak rises, he finds himself naked and asks Bong for his clothes, which Bong provides before turning and leaving. Oak notices that Bong's legs are amputated, and he walks on what seem like half legs. Oak introduces himself and asks if he was brought here to work or carry out tasks. He adds that if there's something he's expected to do, he'll do it, but he pleads for Junak and Xiong to be allowed to leave. Bong turns to him and raises his fingers, displaying a special ability that projects a message onto a floating panel. The message states that Oak wasn't brought here for work, as he had assumed, leaving Oak surprised. Instead of answering Oak's question about the reason for their presence, Bong asks if he can read. Oak replies that he can read somewhat, thanks to Junak's teachings. Bong then inquires about his reading proficiency. Oak explains that he can read regular books without difficulty, but struggles with more complex ones. Bong instructs him to get dressed immediately and follow him, as they must begin their training from the moment he was allowed into the cult. As Oak follows Bong, he notices that Bong's legs tremble while walking, yet his steps remain steady. Oak wonders what awaits him in the cult. While walking, they encounter some young members of the cult who mock them. One of them calls out to Bong sarcastically, asking if the child behind him is his son. Another youth remarks that it can't be his son, as Bong is not only mute and legless, but also infertile. Oak is shocked by their disrespect towards Bong and stops in his tracks. When Bong turns to him, Oak apologizes for being affected by their words and assures him he didn't mean to take offense. Bong then takes him to the great leader Jang's hall. Upon meeting Jang, Oak is asked if he now knows who brought him here and why. Oak replies that he still doesn't know, wondering why Jang would ask such a question when they haven't told him anything yet. Jang then asks if Oak wants to become strong. Oak is taken aback by the question, thinking it's obvious, given his life as a vagrant. He asks if someone like him has the potential for strength. Jang replies that he can become strong as long as he is a member of the Heavenly Sovereignty cult, but seeking power won't be fruitful in his current state or location. Oak asks about the right way to gain power, and Jang responds with another question, asking what Oak is willing to offer in exchange for the power he desires. Oak inquires about what he must do to deserve such power. Jang simply states that all that's required is for him to follow orders without question. Bong observes that Jang wants to groom Oak to become his follower at the opportune moment. Oak is surprised by Jang's intentions, but senses that Jang genuinely admires him. Oak declares loudly that he understands his duty to offer service in exchange for the power he will be granted, and thus, he is ready to fulfill any request from Leader Zhang. Zhang responds, warning Oak, "But remember, to become strong, you must be able to endure intense pain and even life-threatening risks. If you still agree, tell me." At that moment, Oak's thoughts focus solely on one thing. His ordinary life was already filled with pain and risks due to the daily struggle for survival, not to mention his suffering from loneliness, which only began to fade 3 years ago after Junak and Xiong entered his life. He contemplates Zhang's words about death and realizes it doesn't concern him much, as he already felt like he was living a death-like existence before. If the fear of death could make others hesitate, it certainly wouldn't affect him. With unwavering confidence, Oak replies to Jang, affirming his readiness to face and endure any obstacles on his path to gaining power. He believes that power is the only way to change his life, as once he becomes strong, people's treatment of him will change. and he will be sought after and desired by everyone. Thus, he is certain that power is his ultimate goal. Oak and Bong leave Leader Jang's hall to meet 3 other leaders of the cult. Upon seeing them, one of the leaders, Jong, laughs and asks Bong if this is the child that Leader Jang himself brought back. Bong confirms it, and another leader, Seo, remarks that Oak will indeed be special if he was brought in to clean the courtyard. However, the third leader, Shiwol, has a different opinion. He observes that Oak appears physically strong. Bong understands that Shiwol is hinting at taking Oak for himself, so he retorts, "I chose Oak myself, so don't covet him." Bong gestures for Oak to leave, and Oak greets the 3 leaders before departing with him. After Bong and Oak turn their backs, Seo comments that if he were to teach Oak his knife skills, he would become exceptional and might even be able to hunt small foxes after mastering them. Shiwol adds that despite Oak's young age, he has a strong grip. Jong chimes in, suggesting that his sword skills would be more beneficial for Oak than the knife skills Seo wants to teach him. We return to Bong and Oak, where Bong advises him that if he wants to learn martial arts under his guidance, he must not listen to the temptations of the 3 elders or try to learn their skills. Oak agrees, though surprised by Bong's words. He then asks Bong what he should call him. Bong tells him to simply call him by any name he likes. Oak decides to call him Grandpa Bong, but Bong prefers to be called Master, as he dislikes the title Grandpa. Oak notices that despite Bong's stern appearance, he has a kind heart and is a somewhat peculiar person. Oak asks about his friends Junak and Xiong. Bong tells him that he heard about the morning visit to the cult and guesses that the children might have gone to the White Lotus family. Oak asks if the White Lotus family is a safe place. Bong explains that it is a lineage that has served in the officers' army of the Heavenly Sovereignty cult for generations. He adds that the White Lotus family can be considered one of the 3 powers within the cult. Oak is relieved to hear this, saying it's good news if their mission is to serve in the officers' army. He is confident that Junak will be well received because he is intelligent and hopes that Xiong is doing well too. 3 days after Oak enters the cult, he is summoned again by Bong early in the morning. Bong takes him to a cliff area to begin his training. Bong tells Oak that the most important thing while climbing cliffs is to maintain his breathing in sync with his steps, as this is the way to improve. Oak thinks about Bong's instructions, and to understand the concept of synchronizing his steps with his breath, he compares it to swimming and begins to climb the cliff with agility. Bong is surprised to see him climb well for a beginner and feels that it's not his first time trying climbing. When Oak reaches the top of the cliff, he is overjoyed and expresses his happiness to Bong, saying that he feels a wonderful feeling as if the whole world is under his feet. Bong tells him that from now on, he should come and climb the mountain every day after waking up and having breakfast. The first day passes, and we see Oak climbing the mountain every day for 10 days. On the 10th day, Bong tells him that after today, he will start climbing the mountain twice a day. Oak is shocked, as he is already exhausted from daily climbing. Bong explains that to endure the training in the 10 gates of hell, he must be able to climb the mountain at least 3 times a day. Oak then learns that if he wants to gain the best power in the heavenly sovereignty, he must be able to pass the 10 gates of hell training. Therefore, Bong is tasked with training him to develop his endurance. Bong continues to watch Oak as he climbs the mountain and is impressed by his quick learning. After Oak finishes his climbing training, he is sore from his legs. He meets Yong, who tells him not to think that martial arts will improve by climbing up and down the mountain as he is doing. Oak laughs and says that as long as Bong said so, he must do it regardless of anything else. Yong replies and tells him to forget about that and listen to him carefully. Before he can continue, Seo interrupts him by coming and grabbing Oak's leg, trying to take him for himself. Jong says to Seo, "Don't misunderstand. I only came to encourage Oak when I learned that he was climbing the mountain back and forth skillfully." Seo replies that he understands well and won't allow Jong to do what he has in mind. Jong says, "You're the one doing this, not me. And don't forget that you were caught trying to sneak into Oak's room 3 times. We learned that Seo was indeed trying to get into Oak's room, but Bong Beak caught him every time. When he saw that there was no hope of getting Oak, he tried to prevent Jong or Shiwol from reaching Oak because he believes that they shouldn't take from him something he couldn't have. Time passes, and 3 months have gone by since Oak joined the Heavenly Sovereignty cult. The day arrives when he is qualified to train in the 10 gates of hell. Bong Beak comes and tells Oak that he will be leaving today, surprising and delighting Oak. Bong Beak continues, "From today onwards, your training will be in the 10 gates of hell area, and this training will take about 5 years. If you don't want to, tell me now." Oak replies that he is ready and has no objection. Bong Beak says, "All right, since you've made up your mind, come with me now." Before leaving the cult with Bong Beak, Oak meets the 3 elders on his way and greets them, saying that he will return after he has trained well. They all bid him farewell and wish him a safe return. Jong tells him, "If you find things difficult there, just come back and don't worry about the rest." She-Wolf says that he sees all of this as pointless, and that they should have had Oak instead. After passing them, Bong-beek asks Oak if their words made him hesitant or confused. Oak replies that it's not worth all the worry as long as he won't die there. After a while, they arrive at the first training area in the 10 Gates of Hell. Bong-beek points to the entrance and tells Oak, "After you enter here, you will find a door inside. Open it and enter." Oak bids him farewell before entering, fully focused, and says to himself that no matter what difficulties he faces here, he will be up to the challenge. As soon as he reaches the door, he hears a voice asking him to say his name. After he tells him his name, Oak finds that his record is already there when the voice mentions his age, which is 10 years old, and the name of his trainer, Bong-beek. Then the voice asks him to make a decision about entering, and warns him not to open the door unless he is not afraid of death. Oak decides to open the giant door with his strength, and after opening it with difficulty, the voice tells him that if he had waited a little longer, the door would have opened on its own anyway, instead of him pushing it with his strength. But at the same time, he sees that this is the natural instinct of humans to try on their own. Oak is surprised that the voice says this to him after he has already tired himself out opening the door. After Oak passes through the door, he finds himself in a tunnel-like passage surrounded by fire on both sides. Then he finds a staircase that he descends while saying the name of hell out loud. At the end of the stairs, there are many young people there for training like him, and Junak is among them. Oak is very happy when he sees him, and so is Junak, and they meet each other warmly. Oak then tells him that Bong-beek told him that he joined the White Lotus family. Junak says, "Yes, me and Xiong." Oak asks him about the system there and if he is facing any difficulties. Junak tells him that he is not facing much difficulty because the father who adopted him there is taking good care of him. Oak asks if Xiong is okay too and says, "Surely she's thinking of me." Junak tells him that she's fine and jokes with him, adding that she's probably forgotten him and is busy playing there, which upsets Oak, who says that when he sees her, he will know how to deal with her. At this time, a person comes and yells at the young people for talking and says that he will not allow any side talk again. Then, he asks Oak for his name. After Oak tells him his name, this person realizes that Oak is with Bong-beek and calls him stupid in front of Oak, who gets upset for Bong-beek but controls himself. Then this person tells Oak that from now on, he must understand that there is no talking without permission, and Oak says, "Okay." Another person named Ju-do appears and gives a box containing pills to the first person to distribute to the young people. After they take the pills, Ju introduces himself to the young people. He is one of the 3 managers of the 10 Gates of Hell area. He tells the young people that the pills they just took are a type of poison known as mountain poison, and the young people are shocked and begin to fear what awaits them in hell. Ju begins to introduce them to the training system here, telling them that they will not be able to use their spiritual powers until they can pass through at least the 3rd gate of hell. This scares the students more, but Oak doesn't care because he doesn't have any internal or spiritual power to help him in the beginning. Yoon yells at the youngsters who are chatting amongst themselves to shut up and asks Ju to start briefing them on the system within the 10 Gates of Hell. Ju begins by explaining that the 1st and 2nd gates focus on ordinary physical training, and that anyone who can reach the 4th gate will be qualified to earn the title of ordinary soldier. If they manage to reach the 5th gate, they can become one of the elite soldiers, and whoever reaches the 6th gate will become a commander with 10 followers who carry out his instructions. As for those who reach the 7th and 8th gates, they will become a commander with 100 followers who carry out their orders. One of the trainees is surprised that he did not mention the 9th and 10th gates and asks him why. Ju replies that in the past 30 years, only 2 people have been able to pass through the 9th gate, and as for the 10th gate, no one has ever been able to pass through it throughout history. The students become tense and afraid when they hear this, so Ju tells them that they have already become part of Batch 88 and welcomes them to hell. Ju opens one of the doors and asks them to follow him, pointing inside and telling them that this is the entrance to the first hall. The trainees are surprised when they find people waiting for them inside. Ju shouts at them at the top of his lungs, asking them what they are waiting for, and orders them to start running immediately behind the officials responsible for them. The trainees carry out his orders and start running, realizing that the reason for calling this training hell did not come out of nowhere, and what they went through in this place was indeed closer to hell than just training, to the extent that they had to eat while running, and sometimes they even did this while they were underwater. When one of them was overcome by sleep and tried to doze off a little, Jiu would go to him and pour water on him to wake him up, and if he remained as he was and did not wake up, he would take out a whip and lash him severely. Jiu notices Oak, who is very tired while running, looks at him, and wonders if someone like him can actually survive. Oak takes it as a challenge, and is determined not to lose to Jiu, and continues to carry out all the harsh orders and training to the extent that Jiu himself is surprised by his insistence on continuing, even though all his colleagues have reached their limits. 10 days pass in this situation, and we see one of the trainees, named Sajin, stumble while running and fall to the ground. Two of the officials responsible for the training laugh at him and make fun of him, which annoys Sajin. He bends down and grabs a rock, which surprises the official and annoys him. They ask him what he is trying to do, so Sajin asks the official if he is confident enough to enter a challenge with him and tells him that he will start first. He hits the rock on his head hard and then hands it to him, saying that it's his turn if he can try. This official is very annoyed with Sajin and calls him crazy. At this moment, Oak appears, takes the rock from Sajin's hand, and suddenly hits his head with it as well, shocking the officials and Sajin. Oak throws the rock away, saying it's useless, then grabs another rock and says it's sharper and will be better. He goes to one of the officials and asks him if he wants to try. The official gets nervous and scared and tells him that there is no need for that at all. Oak tells him, "If you can't do it, then get out of our way because we still have a long way to run." The official is very nervous and continues on his way, telling Oak that they are also busy and have other things to do. Oak asks Sajin why he hit himself instead of hitting them, and Sajin tells him that there are people in this place who are targeting him, and if he had hit them, there would have been a big mess and a lot of problems. At this moment, Oak cuts a piece of his clothes and says to him, "Now let's bandage your head before Jew comes and turns the world upside down on us." Oak wraps the cloth around Sajin's head to stop the bleeding. At this moment, Jew goes to them and asks them what they are doing in this place. They both get nervous when they see him. Sajin says that he fell and hit his head, and the two of them continue running again quickly. Oak tells Sajin that they have to finish, or they will be deprived of food if they are late. In this way, a whole year passes, and Jew tells the trainees that starting tomorrow, their training will be in the second hall. Although both halls rely on basic physical training in their training, the training in the second hall was completely different from the first hall. Iron rings are placed on the trainees' wrists and ankles, and a new ring is added from time to time as they gradually get used to them. We see the trainees climbing one of the slopes while wearing the iron rings, and this is causing them severe exhaustion. One of the trainees, Sang, complains that he's so tired he feels like he's going to die. He's extremely upset and claims it's unfair that they made him wear 2 rings at once. Another trainee, Gojin, retorts that at least Sang is strong, while he possesses no power yet, is forced to wear 3 rings. At this moment, Sajin yells at them to shut up and tells them that if they still have the energy to complain, they should use it for climbing. A girl named Jungju responds, saying they should be ashamed of themselves, especially since Oak, who hasn't even mastered martial arts yet, had his weight increased 12-fold and still doesn't complain. Sang tells her not to compare them to Oak because he doesn't seem human at all. Oak, though exhausted, encourages his fellow trainees, saying they are almost at the top and must push harder because if they fall behind the other groups, they will be deprived of food. Gojin is very nervous and feels that it's impossible. After a while, a trainee named Ho Myung is finally about to reach the top. As soon as he puts his hand on the ledge to climb up, Ju approaches and kicks him off the cliff. Oak and the others are shocked to see what Ju has done. Ju smiles and tells them that those who have the energy and arrived early should go down and then climb up again. He then changes his mind and makes it mandatory for everyone. Ju smiles and looks at Oak, waiting for his reaction. But Oak, without saying a word, leaves the cliff and throws himself off. The rest of his colleagues repeat the same thing, throwing themselves off and falling into the lake below the cliff. Oak looks at Ju, feeling very upset with him, and swears that they will make him pay for this suffering later. At this moment, Sajin notices that Ho Myung is not with them. They are all shocked when they look around and find that he has disappeared. Oak yells at them and tells them to start climbing the cliff while he goes down to the lake and looks for Ho Myung. Oak starts diving into the lake to search for him, and reaches the net that was placed to prevent the trainees from falling into the depths of the lake. He is surprised when he still can't find Ho Myung. At that moment, he notices a hole in the net and realizes that Ho Myung has fallen into it. He quickly passes through it and begins to dive deeper into the dark lake.